KB, we're good? Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone, to a joint edition of the Dirty Verdict podcast and the Sports and Torts Podcast. And here in Houston, Texas, I'm Peter Taaffe.
I'm Kyle Herbert.
And I'm Bill Ogden.
And from the Atlanta side or the Georgia side, we've got
Joshua Stein. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you having me on here tonight.
So Josh has a Sports and Torts podcast. I was telling him pregame. I'd started listening to his podcast early on. And it's similar to ours. And Josh, you'll interview lawyers that, different areas of law. Some weeks, particularly this time of year, you're talking college football on a weekly basis. So if you want to listen to some actual in-depth analysis from people who kind of know what they're talking about, Josh and his colleagues do a good job of breaking down SEC focus, definitely Georgia focus, but also SEC. So I recommend that. And, the Dirty Verdict, I always tell people there's nothing dirty about it. Kyle and I just came up with it. We thought it was kind of catchy, but we try to do the same thing you do, just a little more Texas focused.
I love it. Podcast is such a great medium. You can talk about so many variety of things. Y'all are similar to me. Sounds like, lawyers like the law also follow sports. So if you can marry those two and talk about it and people will actually want to listen, what's better, right?
Yep.
Josh, what kind of practice do you have in Atlanta?
So I'm a personal injury lawyer. I handle on the plaintiff side, car wrecks, truck wrecks, fall cases, dog bites.
Dog bites.
You don't have to get that one.
Negligent security cases. I've got a small firm. It's me, one other lawyer, couple, paralegals. Our office is right by the Battery, which is where the Braves play. If you haven't been there, it's an unbelievable stadium and facility. So been practicing in Atlanta for over 20 years. Like I said, doing that kind of work and having a really good time with it. Did defense work for a really long time and then wised up about 7 years ago and made the switch to exclusively representing plaintiffs. And
you were with one of the captive, or we call it, I guess, I call it captive, but I know there's a different term for it. Which insurance company?
Yeah, captive. That's right. I was with Progressive for 2 years in their in-house firm. And then I went to a, more traditional, private defense firm that was all throughout the Southeast, bigger, handling a bunch of different types of cases. And then from there, made the jump over to plaintiff's work.
And then where are most of your cases? Which counties?
So Metro Atlanta is, I think it's 13 counties now. It expands every year. Atlanta, stretches closer to Tennessee and closer to South Carolina. But my work is predominantly in Metro Atlanta. I'm in Cobb County, so that's where most of my cases are. But you got Cobb, Fulton, DeKalb, Clayton. I don't handle really any cases outside of the state. If I got a call on something from Houston, I'd call one of you guys and ask for recommendations. I know some lawyers will travel around the country to do stuff. That's just never been my practice.
So I go to Atlanta a lot because my family has a place up in Highlands, about 2.5 hours north. But there is a ton, even more so than Houston, a ton of legal advertising. A lot of lawyers on the billboards.
Oh my goodness!
I noticed.
You can't go 5 minutes without seeing 5 or 10 different law firms on billboards. I mean, driving home from the airport, it's almost a joke. And it's the same ones we all know. And I'm sure in Houston, it's the mega advertising firms that frankly don't really litigate the case themselves. They just get them in. If it's a good case, they send them out. Atlanta is a very difficult market for a plaintiff's lawyer. For me, like if I try to play that game and get on billboards and get on the radio and get on commercials, like I can't compete with them, right? Like I just can't. So I've got to focus much more on my community, on my network, people that know me, past clients. And that's how I've been, fortunately able to keep a practice going. I mean, the thing about Atlanta, the traffic is terrible. It's very crowded and all that is not good. But what is good with that is there's a lot of car wrecks. There's lots of accidents. There's lots of activity. So there's plenty of cases to go around. I mean, there's a lot of us there and a lot of us that are staying busy. So that's a good thing.
Have you ever handled a car wreck that happened at the intersection of Peachtree and Peachtree?
Well, exactly, right? Every street is named Peachtree. I mean, you'd think that we could be a little more creative. I mean, we'll throw an avenue on there. We'll throw a boulevard on there. We'll throw a circle on there, thinking that we're getting a little unique. But if y'all ever been to Buckhead, which is kind of our main business thoroughfare, every single street is called Peachtree. It really is a joke.
I was finished a depot in Atlanta once and was trying to get to the W Hotel, and I called the Uber guy on the phone because he was lost, and I said I'm at the intersection of Peachtree and Peachtree. It was pretty great.
Awesome. That's
like
awesome.
Kyle got an accent. All of a
Yeah.
sudden.
It was the hat.
It is that. But
Come on, guys, it's a hat.
So, Josh, you're undergrad and law school from UGA.
That's right. Yeah. People I'm sure ask you guys all the time, like, what made you want to be a lawyer? Why'd you go to law school? And people ask me that question, expecting some really, really deep reason why, I chose going to law school. My answer is actually kind of simple. I want to figure out a way to stay in Athens for 3 more years. What could I do to continue being there and get a degree and have my parents support that? So I'm like, law school sounds good. I've seen the practice on TV a few times and watched a few good men. Let's see how that goes. So yeah, I was in Athens for 7 years. It was great.
Yep. It's there's a lot of kids from Houston and from Austin, where I also live, that go to UGA and they love it. They don't come home. A lot of kids in college that go off, they'll come home multiple weekends. These kids never come. They love it. Same kind of idea you had.
Yeah. So Highland Park is a big spot where people come to Athens. One of my best friends, he met a girl freshman year from Highland Park. And to your point, they dated their whole time. They got married, and now she lives in Atlanta. She's never going to, never going to leave. But by the same token, though, a lot of folks from Atlanta will go to Texas, go to Austin for school. That's a big hot spot for folks that want to leave, Georgia, and they have the same great experience there. I mean, I've visited Austin several times. What a great place. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there for the Georgia-Texas game this year, but it's on my list for sure in the next few times that this game happens.
yeah, I was going to say there's a big game coming up for Texas, and luckily, in between that game against Vanderbilt and Texas, we get a kind of a warm up game against Georgia. So that's kind of nice that we'll play each other.
Well, Vandy's pretty hot right now.
I'm just saying.
So yeah, so that was my thought on this. Is I knew Josh was a big Georgia fan. I knew we're Texas fans. We've got the big Texas Georgia game coming in 2 weeks, and we thought we could do a little pregame discussion, kind of introduce your crowd to the Texas team, and you could kind of introduce the Texas crowd to the Georgia team. We've got a big game coming. There's definitely not a trap game because we've got OU before y'all. So everyone is 100% focused on our Texas OU game. Y'all have Mississippi State, which I thought they were not going to be so good, but they actually played a very hard game, very physical game against us, did better than I think anyone anticipated. So I think y'all have that one at home this weekend.
We do. Y'all know more about Mississippi State than I do. I mean, I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you their quarterback. Don't know much about their team. We're a 30-plus point favorite against them, which in the SEC, that's just a massive number. The word trap game is something that me and my friends have kind of discussed. Not that it's a trap game that I think we could lose, but a trap game that we're obviously looking ahead to Texas. And so does that mean that we hold some things back? Not want to show some of the cards. I don't know looking ahead. I know you guys have the Red River Shootout, which has all the eyes of Texas and all the eyes of Oklahoma. So I don't know what's better. I mean, are you better playing a game like that heading into a game versus Georgia, or are you better doing what we have, having a lesser opponent? I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I agree. And just for your group, Kyle and Bill are both plaintiff lawyers. Kyle's got sounds like a pretty similar practice to yours. Bill does all kinds of different things, suing Elon Musk and products liability stuff. I used to be a plaintiff's lawyer for about 25 years. I've been a full-time mediator for the last 3 years.
Is that why you sit in the middle? You mediate between these two during the podcast?
I try to.
Shut up, Bill.
I try to.
Our practice is auto products heavy, and so we're the firm that goes all over the country to litigate. We don't do a lot of work in Georgia, mainly because Georgia and then the Fort Lauderdale corridor and Houston all are kind of a big auto products heavy lawyers wise, and they're good lawyers in Atlanta. So we don't, if there's a case there and it's good, for the most part, it stays at a Georgia firm.
That makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of folks around here that do those kinds of cases.
So, Josh, other than Austin and Athens, educate us. What's the next best place to catch an SEC football game?
Oh, that's easy. Baton Rouge. No question about it.
Are they nice to visitors?
So I found they were super nice to Georgia fans because there's not a huge rivalry or dislike between Georgia and LSU. There's actually, I think, some admiration and some respect. I mean, both programs see the other as being accomplished, as having worthy teams every year. So I've been twice, and they have treated me and my friends, very well both times. You do hear the horror stories that come out of Baton Rouge, and I'm sure that happens. Not been my experience. Both times we stayed in New Orleans, and that's a whole nother story in itself. I'm sure you guys have been to New Orleans plenty of times. And we took a ride to, down to Baton Rouge. I think it's like 60 miles, something like that. Get there early. The tailgates are everywhere, very welcoming. The stadium is just incredible. I mean, they played the games used to all at night. With TV, that's changed a little bit, but the atmosphere there is awesome. That's a strong number one for me. Tennessee is at the bottom of my list. The folks in Knoxville, I mean, I've got some friends that go there, and they might not like to hear this, but I mean, those fans are jackasses. And the stadium, they put you right on top of each other. It's very crowded in there, and so it can get very hostile very quick if you have a section that's mixed between Georgia fans and Tennessee fans. So that's my kind of A to Z. And there's all in between. I mean, Ole Miss, Oxford is incredible.
That's my
Georgia, Florida has always played in Jacksonville, so I've never been to a game in Gainesville, but Jacksonville, that's so unique. It's similar to y'all's Texas OU game, right? It's the neutral site where you have the stadium that's 50-50, and that just brings such an incredible kind of event feel to the game.
Got it. Okay. Well,
when's the last time Georgia played Texas? Like an 83 Cotton Bowl?
No, the last time we played was in the Sugar Bowl, 2018, I believe.
That's
and
right.
that was an interesting because I think y'all had come off maybe the SEC championship loss. And so y'all are and you hadn't made the playoffs. So your motivation was kind of low. We were excited because we had not been good and we were in a big bowl game.
That's right.
So I felt like we were a little more motivated than y'all.
Kyle, that is hilarious that you asked that question, because as I was sitting here, like an hour before thinking about like things we can talk about, I'm like, when's the last time Georgia played Texas? And I had to look it up. And you're exactly right. I think it was 2018, 2019 Sugar Bowl. Jake Fromm was Georgia's quarterback. We had just gotten our ass kicked by LSU in the SEC championship game. And I think that you're right, Peter. We kind of came in limping in, not maybe quite as motivated. And y'all took it to us. I even looked at the box score, and y'all were up 17-0, I think, in the second quarter.
Yeah. So the story on that one, after that game, our quarterback, Sam Ehlinger, famously said, "Texas, we're back."
And then we
and we weren't back, turned out. And whereas y'all went from that, and then I think you've been in the elite level, multiple championships after that. Y'all were back. I mean,
we've had just a run the last 4 or 5 years that is just, you got to pinch yourself. And I tell all my friends that bitch and moan about things, I'm like, you guys, you got to just enjoy this. I mean, Texas, y'all were in the heyday, years back, and it goes away. Every team deals with this, the ups and downs, and Georgia will go through it too. But, our last 4 or 5 years, you just can't ask for more. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe that was the catapult that was needed to get us to that elite level. But gosh, we're just going to enjoy this ride as long as we can. And, frankly, as long as Kirby Smart stays in Athens, I feel really good about our chances. I mean, he is the best at recruiting. It's all he cares about. He eats, sleeps, and drinks recruiting 24/7. He's great at roster management. He's figured out the transfer portal. So as long as he's the constant in Athens, I feel really good about our chances. But I don't know how long these coaches can do it. I mean, the job is such a grind. This new NIL stuff is such a grind. It's a 365 job. So I don't know how long. I mean, Sark's a great coach too. You want to keep him as long as you can, but how long can these guys do it? I don't know.
Yeah. Mac Brown, was there when we had our heyday, our most recent heyday. And I've always said that there's only so long a human being can operate at that level, as Mac was and Kirby's operating now. We just, and you kind of alluded to it with your guys and your most recent one, some of the fans, they take it for granted. They don't realize because they've never known a bad season. So, like I felt, y'all said this, I felt the same way. I felt like there wasn't a lot of energy in y'all's Auburn game. And I know Coach Smart said that, he noted that too, that maybe there's a little complacency there, at least from the fan base.
For sure there is. I mean, I think that the students there right now have never experienced anything but, national championships, being in the playoffs, things like that. They don't have the scars at all we have from, really down seasons and tough losses to rivals. So I think that the complacency is part of it. I mean, ours is called the dog vent message board. I'm not on it, but I have friends that are on it. I'm sure y'all have something very similar. I don't know what it's called. Maybe the horn vent or whatever it might be, but you got people up there that are just pounding their keyboards, bitching and moaning and complaining. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? You got to enjoy this. What are we upset about?
I have seen the darkest of dark days. I've seen Vince Young with my own eyeballs win a national title, and I've watched us lose to Kansas. So I have run the gamut over the years.
Yeah.
We
have the same.
For the Georgia listeners that are listening to y'all, like, just tell them, like, y'all, like Vince Young, y'all were Rose Bowl, y'all were dominating, and then you were down for some years. Like, let people know that it happens.
I think Mac went a decade and a half where he won at least 10 games every year for 15 years. And then we had two coaches that weren't super successful. We had a solid 10 years where things were kind of mediocre to just barely above average.
In the Big 12.
Yeah.
In a not great conference, playing games that you were like, well, I guess we get Iowa State this weekend. And they're like, Iowa State might beat you. And you're like, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask y'all a question?
Yeah.
What is the feeling on joining the SEC this year? Excitement, looking forward to it, playing much more big games. What's the attitude?
Yeah, it's definitely excitement. We got a taste of it last year at when we played out Alabama at night, and just the intensity and the light shows and night game light show. We added a component to that at our stadium to kind of keep up, but just the intensity of the games, passion of the crowd, the pregame atmosphere. Texas has, I guess, looking ahead to that, it started building to where we could fit, where we matched our friends in the new conference. And so if it, everything we've seen is everything it's, been pubbed to be, as far as we haven't had any road games yet. So, and we only have a few. We've got Arkansas, Vanderbilt, A&M, which is kind of not, too far down the road. And Arkansas and Vanderbilt are the two true ones. So, we're bracing for going on the road. I think your fans will be very well received. I think, kind of like you said about LSU, I think there's a lot of mutual respect for the programs, and there's a lot of common, people who went to school, like you were saying, the Highland Park friend, and we've got a lot of people.
I hope so. I hope so. And I hope the same is true when Texas comes to Athens. I mean, every fan base has its fair share of, the not as kind people. I think you're going to find that at any school, but for the most part, I think the Georgia fans and I think the Texas fans are similar like this. Respect good teams and want to have fun and want to do it the right way. And, the game's going to play out how it's going to play out. Y'all are going to win some, we're going to win some, and you just have a good time. That's how I try to look at it. There's a lot more important things going on in this world than the outcome of a football game. We can all enjoy it and talk about it and laugh about it, but my gosh, if it upsets you to the point where you're going to try to fight another grown person, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself some questions.
You sound like a man who's never punched a dude in the face in Dallas.
No, but my buddy who I was talking about, the married that girl from Highland Park, was on the receiving end of a punch in Dallas at one of y'all steakhouses, and I think he got a punch back. Is there a lot of fighting in Dallas? Is that what goes on?
A lot of 3 Series BMWs that are leased, but not a lot of fighting.
So the funny thing about Dallas is the Cotton Bowl's not in a very good part of town, and we usually play that game either at 11 or 12:30. 11 or 2:30, and it's probably good because you don't want to be near the Cotton Bowl after dark. I don't kind of hang out with people that get in fistfights anymore because I'm I got kids and a mortgage. But Peter probably does. I mean, you get in a lot of fights.
My kids are chill. about
I
that.
think you're the fighter.
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Kids.
Okay, sure.
You-
One
you
thing about
read-
OU, I was going to say, Josh, one of your guys said, don't drink the wax cup beer. And I could
Yes.
not disagree more. That's
You,
like,
you disagree. Okay, let's hear it.
could not do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is like, we look forward to that. There's something about that piss taste at the very end of it that just brings you back to when you were 18 and you first started drinking beer at the fair.
Oh
I know
my God.
people that will get to the game 4 or 5 hours early just so they can have a piping hot Fletcher's corn dog right out of the oil with like 2 wax cup beers. It's heaven. It is heaven.
Peter, I could not enjoy your take more if I tried, because my buddy Jason, who made that statement, he fancies himself the connoisseur of all things, eating and drinking and all this kind of stuff. And so he'll listen to this, and I'm like, no, man, you're wrong. I mean, that wax paper cup and the flavors it brings back the memories of college, like that's where you need to be. So
It's not Jason's fault. He just doesn't get it.
he didn't get it.
Well, if you went there, age 18, drinking beer, brings you back.
Age 18.
Yeah.
Peter
Well,
Taaffe,
whatever.
it was legal,
Whatever.
I think.
21.
Goodness.
Yeah. I may have grandfathered.
Who do you think is going to win the SEC this year?
So I think that going into the season, it was a three team race, right? Georgia, Texas, Alabama. Y'all's friends in Aggie land are at the top of the heap right now, right? They got rid of Jimbo Fisher and they bring the new guy in, and suddenly they're winning football games. I don't think that's going to last. I think that they'll end up with their fair share of losses. Alabama in the first quarter and second quarter against Georgia, they looked like absolute world beaters. Jalen Milroe was doing everything right. We could not stop him for anything. And at halftime, I'd have told you that Alabama is going to, destroy everybody. Second half against Georgia, they did not look like the same team. We saw what happened, when they played Vandy. So I've got my doubts about them. I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be Georgia and Texas that are going to be the two left standing. I think all the other teams have too many blemishes. But I also think there's going to be, a 2-loss Georgia team and potentially a 2-loss Texas team that are playing against each other, which, by the way, is kind of refreshing and okay.
I love it. I love it.
After the Alabama game, we were not we're upset you want to win, of course, but like in years past, that would almost kill your season, but not anymore. I mean, we know we're going to lose a game or two, and y'all probably will also. And that's okay in this new 12-team playoff, which is really, in my opinion, a really good consequence of them putting this out like that.
They clarified the rules on whether or not the PAC conference winner, since there are teams still in it.
Yeah, I mean, they can win the pack.
They have a slot.
So either Washington State or Oregon State, those are the only 2 teams in the.
Well,
Do you know, Josh, does the Pac-12 have a slot on the playoff?
Yeah. So we were having fun calling them Tupac, because there's 2 teams left at the Pac-2. I've got a friend that geeks out on this stuff, and he's convinced that they don't meet the criteria or the definition of conference as was laid out by whoever is governing this, NCAA or whoever it is. So I don't think that one of those 2 teams is automatically going to get a bye. I think it's the major, was it 4 now? They're conference champions, and then you fill in the group of 5. I think they get 1, and then you fill in the other 7.
Got it. I think I'll say this: A&M has a very favorable rest of the year schedule. I think LSU is maybe the only ranked team, and they play them at A&M. Yeah, and then Texas, but they very well could be undefeated in conference play going into our game with them in the last game of the year.
I very much strongly disagree with that.
I was going to ask, do y'all close up the year with them?
We do.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Night game, right?
I say the same thing about the Aggies every year. Good schedule, great players, massive stadium, all the money in the world, rabid fan base. And if I got to pick one team that's going to screw that up,
Arkansas.
it's always A&M.
Okay.
Arkansas always screws somebody.
Well, Josh, you guys give a weekly award and you call it after a certain coach.
Yeah, the Jimbo of the week. Yeah, we give it Jimbo of the week. It started 2 years ago because Jimbo Fisher was just making asinine decision after asinine decisions. And Kyle, all the things that you pointed out are exactly right. Unlimited money, unlimited resources, massive stadium, and they just cannot seem to get out of their own way.
But by the way, hold on. Shame on you, sir. Jimbo Fisher has $100 million.
Yeah.
Any decision after that is like, who cares?
Yeah.
Coach,
So
why even show up? Why wear pants ever again?
We have given him credit for being fired and walking away with what his buyout was insane. Like, sign me up. I'll take that job any day of the week. But we also want to memorialize his just dumbass decisions by every week pointing out, the worst actor on the field or wherever it might be, the biggest bonehead decision, and give him the Jimbo of the Week award.
Jimbo Fisher is the Matt Flynn of college football coaching. He got paid to really not succeed anywhere. He did okay for State.
Yeah. Look, Jimbo's, he's on a different level.
Well, they've got Mike Elko, who, turned around a Duke program last year, has a history there. He may be a winner. We'll see.
He was definitely the fourth best coach in the fifth best conference.
I'm excited that Indiana's back with the football team.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, who doesn't
they've never been.
Who doesn't love the Hoosiers?
Yeah. Okay. So Josh, what I thought we'd do is maybe you can run down one side of the ball for Georgia and I'll run down the opposite side. So you can start with you pick. You want to do your offense or your defense, and then we'll do flip side.
That sounds great. So offense, Carson Beck, obviously our quarterback, he was everybody's kind of what we're watching the off season. Was Carson going to declare himself and go pro, or was he going to come back for his senior year? He's one of these guys that originally signed with Georgia and sat behind Stetson Bennett for all those years and stuck it out, which I appreciate. In today's day and age, kids are leaving if they're not starting right away. So I always appreciated that for him. And then he came back for his senior year. Now he got a big old wad of cash to do that. He's driving around Athens in a Lamborghini. He's got the Instagram model girlfriend, living the life. And he's honestly not met expectations thus far this year. Been a little bit of a disappointment. Having said that, I'm still very comfortable with him at the helm. He's been through everything, tons of experience. And he's had his moments where he's looked really, really good. We're missing some downfield threats. So Peter, is it your son that's the safety at Texas?
Yes.
There's not the top kind of guy that we've seen in years past. We thought Arian Smith was going to be that guy. He's a speedster. He runs those go routes, but y'all seen that movie with the guy Stonehands that just can't seem to catch the ball. Arian has been plagued with some drops, which makes Carson not quite have the confidence in him. So a guy named Colby Young has really stepped up as our main go-to guy. Did y'all see the news today out of Athens?
I did.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he spent the night.
He got arrested
in jail last night. Another in the long list of Georgia, football players that have found themselves on the wrong side of the blue light. So it's a domestic assault charge. We're all lawyers here. These are all allegations. Don't know how it'll play out, but if history is any lesson, he very well, might not be with the team any longer, which is going to be a huge blow for us, quite frankly. So we'll see how that plays out. Trevor Etienne is our running back. Y'all probably remember his brother, Travis, who was a stud over at Clemson playing for the Jaguars right now. He's really good. He transferred from Florida last year and is everything that we had hoped he was going to be. So we've put up 30 plus points in all of our games, but the offense is not what I would say kind of dynamic as it's been in years past. But again, you put up 30 points, you take it. We're more of kind of a methodical team this year, kind of putting first downs together versus big explosive plays. But, got enough playmakers to get the job done.
Okay. I'll take you through our defense then to go against them. So, and Kyle and Bill chime in. So up front, we lost 2 high draft picks, Byron Murphy, De'Mondre Sweat, who I think were the best tandem in the interior defense. Place them with transfer portal guys, couple from Arizona, a couple, can't remember the other guys from. They've done well. Big guys, 5th and 6th year guys, just working guys down low, nothing exciting. Not, no big stat numbers, but hold their position very well. Our edge is pretty dynamic. We've got a true freshman named Colin Simmons, who's started to really flash.
Is he from Duncanville?
I believe so. You've got a Baron Sorrell, who's a 4th-year player. He's very good. He's played, every year he's been there, very experienced, very smart. You've got Ethan Burke, who's a kid who went to the same high school as my son. He's very tall, kind of like a Hutchison that was at Michigan, now with Detroit, kind of similar kind of deal. Trey Moore, who's a transfer portal guy from UTSA, who had like 15 sacks last year. Hadn't really had the big stats yet, but very, mobile. So our edges are definitely a strong position. At linebacker, we've got a guy named David Benda, who's a 6-year player. We got Anthony Hill, who's probably one of the best sophomore defensive players in the country. And then we do 2 linebackers. So then we've got what they call a nickel or a star. That had been Jade Barron, who's another 4th-year player, 5th-year player. He's moved down to cornerback. Jalen Gilbo, who's filled in very well for him and enabled Jade to go be a cornerback. Malik Muhammad is a sophomore. He's rated one of the top sophomore cornerbacks. These are lockdown. Barron and Muhammad are very lockdown cornerbacks. It's safety, my son, Michael Taaffe, and then Andrew Makuba, who's a Clemson transfer. Michael, my son, Andrew Makuba, and Jade Barron have been friends since they were, 9th grade in high school, all trained together. Very good communication between them, which I think has helped this year between them, aligning everyone. Derek Williams is another very good safety, sophomore. He's been a little hurt, but should be back for y'all's game for sure. So it's nothing. I'd say Anthony Hill is probably the one you got to keep your eye on, who's going to make the splash plays. And then Colin Simmons, the defensive end, is the guy who's going to make the highlight reel plays. Everyone else is just very workmanlike, just does their job. Nothing super exciting, just assignment sound, generally pretty tackling sound. I don't know, Kyle, what do you got?
Well, I was going to say, Anthony Hill is a guy that was committed to A&M and then ended up signing with Texas. And probably this time next year, you'll hear about him as a candidate for all the national awards. Yeah. He's fantastic. But the defense plays really well as a whole. I mean, I think up until last weekend, they were averaging giving up like 6.5 points a game.
Yeah.
And so as a unit, they're extremely solid, with probably 1 or 2 fewer stars than last year. But it's the best defense Texas has had in, a decade probably.
Yeah. Well, we had Michigan and then some lighter, ranked teams. And then Mississippi State, I was very impressed with them. They were very physical. They ran the ball. Definitely played keep away from our offense. So they killed us on time of possession, just a lot of inside runs. Quarterback's pretty mobile. They've got another quarterback that comes in for like the short yardage running stuff. So I think we got tested pretty well for Mississippi State. We weren't anticipating that. And so there was enough that people got some missed tackles that we hadn't seen so far this year. So I think everyone was a little kind of like y'all, like, we're not sure, everyone was drinking the Kool-Aid for sure before Mississippi State. Now we're like, we saw enough to give us just a slight bit of concern. So we'll get tested hard with Oklahoma and then obviously with y'all.
I went to the Michigan-Texas game a couple weeks ago. So did Pete. And I thought Texas got a huge advantage, that kickoff being in the morning, right? Playing away early in the season, playing in the morning. I think it was just announced yesterday that the Georgia-Texas game is going to kick off at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah,
we were closely watching that and hoping for an earlier in the day kickoff. We got Alabama under the lights, which was not easy. We got Kentucky under the lights, which Lexington, I should have added that to my list. That's a cool place to go to as well. They got a lot of horse racing up there. But you're exactly right. I think the night game always favors the home crowd. It's just more energy, more time to enjoy the brown liquor that they'll be serving in Austin and the other stuff. So yeah, I think that's a big advantage for you guys.
Cool. Okay. Well, you want to turn it over now to your defense.
Yeah, before I do, Peter, off topic. I mean, how much fun is your son having right now? I mean, being in the middle of a defense, number one team in the country. I mean, that's just phenomenal.
And he drives a Lamborghini.
He has a deal with the Lamborghini dealership where he drives a car.
They were going to do the same thing for
Carson Beck,
Georgia.
they have the same thing.
Yeah. Actually, Isaiah Bond is the other one who's, was the Alabama transfer who caught the pass. He's having a great time. He generally does the player availabilities every week. And so, you could see that on Twitter. His ones most recently were just about how grateful he is and living in the moment. And, he grew up, when he graduates, he'll be a 5th generation UT grad. So he grew up, we grew up we live in Austin. So he grew up going to every single game and didn't go to the championship game because he was only 2, but his brothers went. So we just, we've always been Texas fans. So him doing this is what he's always dreamed of. And he started off as a walk-on and just worked his way up the chart and got a scholarship his sophomore year, and just every year got a little bit better and better. And so he works his tail off, but yeah, he's enjoying every second of it.
Fantastic. That is so awesome. Great for him. Great for your family. So in terms of defense, I mean, Kirby is a defensive guy, right? I mean, he was a DC under Saban for all those years. Defense has always been his calling card. I think he's done a good job of bringing in, offensive coordinators that have run the offense, but his hands are all over the defense. And, when Georgia won the championship years ago, our calling card was big, physical, nasty D linemen, right? You remember probably Jordan Davis, you remember Jalen Carter. These are just big dudes that are now starring in the NFL. We don't really have that this year. We're kind of missing that guy. We've had some injuries in the D line, and we're hoping some of those guys can come back. But that is a part of the defense that we're kind of missing and looking for someone to step up. Having said that, other than one quarter against Alabama that I mentioned, the defense has been pretty much shutting teams out. We've allowed, I think maybe 3 touchdowns all year other than that Alabama game, which I know you have to include that in the stats, of course, but point being that the other games, I mean, Clemson scored 3 against us. Auburn put up, I think, 10 or 13 last weekend. Kentucky put up 12 on 4 field goals. So we're pretty stingy. A guy named Jalen Walker, that's a name that you're going to hear if you're in the stadium being called out over the loudspeaker. If you're watching at home, the announcer will be talking about. That dude is a stud. He's just a different kind of guy, and they can move him all around, right? By trade, they put him up on the line and just say, hey, go get the quarterback, and he does. The other name you're going to hear is Mikael Williams. He got banged up in the first game against Clemson. He got an ankle injury, and it's been kind of bothering him ever since. I mean, he's had limited playing time, and we thought that was to get him ready for Alabama, and he only played a little bit in Alabama, and then he had limited playing time against Auburn, and we thought that's getting him ready for Texas. So that's a big deal for us. We need him back at full strength. I hope that he is. Those are our two dudes up front. And then in the secondary, Malachi Starks is, he's a generational type of secondary player. He was, All-American last year, will be the same this year. He just locks it down. So, like I said, it's those 3 that really jump off the page. Guy named CJ Allen at linebacker. But frankly, one of our best defensive players is our punter, Brett Thorson. If our offense stalls out, our punter just is lights out. I mean, he's going on a year and a half with 0 punt return yards. Not like me being, funny. He has not allowed a punt return yard in a year and a half, which is a huge weapon when you're on offense. So we see him as kind of a part of our defense on the special teams.
Got it. Yeah, our punter, we've got a true freshman punter. We've had a good run of experienced punters. Our guy's doing well. Fortunately, we haven't had to punt that many times, but he's for a true freshman, he's done well, but nothing. I mean, that is totally remarkable to not have any returning yards for a year and a half. Okay, well, I'll break down ours. Our offensive line is very experienced. Center Jake Majors is a 5th or 6th year player. Hayden Connor, same. On one side, you've got Kelvin Banks, who in some drafts is projected to be I saw one who was the first pick of the overall draft, but definitely top 10 kind of guy. Third year, he'll be done after this year. Cam Williams has come on. He's in a lot of these projected drafts as a first-round pick. So DJ Campbell's a classic guard. These are all like very experienced, a very deep position there. They did very well against Michigan's 2, dominant interior linemen. Let's see, quarterback. Y'all know Quinn Ewers. He has been hurt the last couple of games with an abdominal strain. Sark said he's expecting him to start against Oklahoma. So assuming everything goes well there, he'll be fine.
He did get hurt last year against Oklahoma. Not to jinx it.
No, he was against Houston the following week.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
My
He's had every year he's had a couple games where he's been dinged up. We're obviously good shape with Arch as a backup. I think Sark has just been game planning with Quinn for the last 3 years. So it's kind of geared his offense around Quinn's game. So I think, Sark and Quinn kind of pretty aligned with each other after 3 years. So to people who ask, is Arch going to overtake Quinn? No, will never happen. I don't think, as much as everyone loves Arch and thinks he's a tremendous player, it's just, it's been Quinn's, position. Wide receivers are great. Went to the portal, got great guys. Isaiah Bond from Alabama, Matthew Golden from Houston, sophomore DeAndre Moore, who's kind of known as the leader of the room. Who else? Ryan Wingo is a true freshman who's on the true freshman, all American watch list. So that's a very deep. Jonte Cook, Silas Bolden, who's another transfer. So that position is deep. Probably our biggest, and then Gunnar Hilm, who's one of our close friends, tight end, has really stepped up. He, not maybe Gunnar maybe get mad at me if I say this. He's probably not at Brock Bowers level yet, but he's moving in very quickly in that direction.
He's going to get upset from that.
Yeah. No, he's got to have him. I mean, Brock Bowers is, one of the best tight ends around for the last college football in the last 10 years, but he's moving quickly in that direction. And let's see. So our concern is running back. We lost our starting running back, Cedric Baxter, a incoming freshman scholarship player named Christian Clark. They're out. Let's see. We've got Jaden Blue, who's super fast. He's had a couple of fumble issues, had 2 in the last game. That's given everyone concern. Jared Gibson's a very good inside runner, but he's young, true freshman. And then we've got Trey Wisner, who everyone said this is a great special teams guy. He's going to be special teams in the league, but he's really been called on to run, and he's been a very physical runner, angry runner. So everyone doesn't really know what OU's going to see, and then what y'all are going to see as far as distributing that. But they use the running back like Blue a lot more on little swing passes and screens, more so than like just a straight up handoff. But because he's super fast. So, but that will be, if we have any more injuries at the running back position, it's going to be concerning. So I don't know, Kyle.
No, I agree.
Good, Josh.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I typically don't get too involved in other teams' depth charts and other teams' players, but I can't help myself but kind of be fascinated by how the whole Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning thing plays out. It's something that I have been following. Obviously, it's because of the last name of the backup quarterback, and he's done pretty well. I want y'all to fact check something for me, because I saw something on social media where it compared the top speed that Arch Manning got to on one of his touchdown runs. He was going faster than Tyreek Hill. Is that at all possible?
It is. I saw something about that actually at a scrimmage last year, and it was a scrimmage that only the parents could go to. He had a similar run, except it was down the middle, and he blew past every secondary person, like wasn't even close. I mean, I thought he was running faster on that play than that touchdown he scored. He is very, very fast. I don't know about Tyreek Hill, matchup because I know Tyreek's super fast, but I'll just say this: Arch is really, really fast.
And yeah, I mean,
20.7 miles per hour.
Yeah.
As the crow flies.
Yeah.
It's fast.
So he's good. He's the real deal. I mean, and every anecdote you hear about how hard he works, and that's my son and him are good friends because they just go up to that facility like all the time. They're up there all the time looking at film, all he thinks about is football. He talks about his football. So everything you hear about him as far as his work ethic and quality, character and all that, in my experience, completely true.
Yeah, Kirby wanted him bad. I mean, Kirby recruited him like crazy. So obviously what he's done at Texas been great so far. But Ewers is still the man, huh? I mean, Ewers, if he is able to play health wise, like that's the direction y'all are going, I'm hearing.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's had every year he's missed a couple of games. So we're very fortunate to have such a quality person to come in, if he does get hurt. That's a weird injury. I've never really heard of someone having the abdominal injury. So I don't know how easy it is to re-aggravate it. And I know it's really painful. So it's just something to, keep an eye on. But yeah, I feel like Quinn is really, the first games that he was in, I felt like he really had mastery of the offense and Sark's offense, which is a little different, very, very sophisticated kind of offense. So I think, Quinn will be the guy as long as he's healthy.
I did fact check. The top speed that he had makes him the 8th fastest top speed in the NFL right now. And it's faster than Tyreek Hill this year in a game.
Got it. Okay.
That's the caveat but everybody leaves that little this year off of all the Instagram and TikTok posts.
It gets much more impressions just saying it was faster than Tyreek Hill. So I appreciate
his fastest 40, it said, was 4.6. So I think it takes him a little while to get up to that, but I think his top speed's just pretty damn fast.
That's great. No, that's great.
Yeah. Well, I think, I was going to say our kicker is good, and he was supposed to be all SEC, but fortunately for us, he has not had to kick many field goals because we had red zone efficiency problems last year. It was a big issue. This year we've been really good in the red zone. So our kicker has not had to kick too many. I think he's perfect on extra points, and he's only had to kick like 2 or 3 field goals. So,
our guy's pretty good. Peyton Woodring is his name. He also has not had a ton of need, but he's one of these guys where you can kind of tell with if he has an early field goal that he has to attempt. Gosh, I hope he makes it because he can kind of go in the wrong direction if that first one doesn't go through the uprights. But hopefully, we're getting 7s and not 3s.
Our kicker is named Bert Auburn, and he has a massive orange afro.
Awesome.
Yeah, check him out.
And when he takes his helmet off, you're like, whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Josh, you guys were worried about the night game thing. And I always think that way too. I feel like the Alabama played us 2 years ago at home, and it was 11 o'clock game. And actually that was more intense than some of the night games we've had for whatever reason. And it's really hot in Austin, and that is an advantage for us for a team that's, maybe like a Colorado team or
any of the Big Ten.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing for y'all to be at a 6:30 game. It's a little more, I'd say it's not as intense as some of these 11 o'clock games.
Okay. We'll take it.
Yeah. It'll be much better environment too. Like the light show, it'll be like if you've been to an Alabama game, very similar. I'm sure we're following what everyone in the conference does.
Hey, it's copycat, right? I mean, Nick Saban's blueprint obviously was success, and it was from soup to nuts all the way down to the light show at the stadium. So why wouldn't other programs try to implement it? Georgia's doing the same thing. This is a show, right, guys? I mean, it's putting on, it's entertainment. It's getting people in the stands, getting them excited. The recruits see the light show and want to come to Texas or come to Georgia. You're putting on a show for the recruits. So I'm all in, man. I think it's great.
Good.
So we on our last episode, we did predictions for the OU Texas score. You want maybe a friendly wager or some prognostication about the Georgia Texas score?
So both y'all name the stakes of the terms I'm in. I mean, obviously I'm going with Georgia.
I think maybe a nice bottle of bourbon.
Deal. I love it.
Okay. Well, whoever wins, I think Bill would know what a good bourbon is, and he's got a very expensive taste. So if you win, he'll send you something really nice.
I'll get you something you can't get in stores.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
And we'll take from you. You can just send Beam in a traveler plastic bottle, because that's how Kyle drinks it.
I'm going to send you a bunch of wax cups to drink your bourbon out of.
I was going to send you a bottle of Old Granddad. Y'all had that.
All right.
Before? I'm sending you Old Granddad. So what's interesting about this game is I've not heard an advanced line. I'm sure it could move based on, the Oklahoma game and Mississippi State game. But my guess is it's going to be plus or minus 1 or 2 points in either direction, right? I mean, I'm not great at handicapping games, but I don't see this being more than a 3-point spread in either direction. Do you guys?
No, I don't. If it's more than a field goal, I'd be shocked either way. And that's the thing is, nobody even knows who the real favorite. I mean, we know the ranking wise, but favorite wise, we still kind of up in the air.
Well, the home team typically gets 3 points, right? So, but I think the preseason line was pretty much even.
Pick them.
So I'd stay with that. We'll do a straight up on our little unofficial
straight
gentleman's
up
bet. Yeah. So go ahead, and so we'll just do that. We'll just pick the score for fun, but we'll just do our straight up Texas, Georgia for our bourbon.
Right now,
our
it's
bourbon swap.
Advanced line, Texas minus 1.5.
So there you go. Yeah. So it's basically a pick 'em.
Pick.
And that could move. So I'm going Georgia 26, Texas 24. Georgia drives at the end of the game and kicks a field goal as time expires to rip the hearts out of the fans in Austin. And we take the game 26-24. Write it down.
All right. Got that, Amanda? Kyle?
I think this is a tough game because even though we're almost halfway through the season, there's a ton of unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Quinn doesn't come back from this injury, it's a whole new ball game. And OU is a tough opponent the week before. I like getting the game at night at home. I think that's worth a bump. I don't know. Maybe I think the offenses are both good enough that it's going to be a fair amount of points scored. Maybe 35-38 Texas. Could see it going I could see it 30. I could see it the other way too, but I think because it's at home, I'm going to give Texas an edge, but wouldn't be shocked to see them lose this game.
I'm going to say Georgia marches down, scores a touchdown, kicks the extra point with time expiring for a 28-31. Georgia loses by 3.
Yes.
Maybe backdoor cover.
It's all
maybe backdoor cover.
Yep.
I think the trophy should be winner gets Muschamp as the team manager. Loser has to hire Dabo Sweeney next year when he gets canned.
So, Muschamp, he's retired basically. He's
I was going to ask what he's doing now.
Yeah. I mean, he was an analyst for years. Him and Kirby played together, and Bobo too. Like they're all boys from back in the day. And then Muschamp's son came to Georgia to play. There's a great video last year, if you haven't seen it, of I think it was against Florida State in the Sugar Bowl, where Muschamp got in to play quarterback. Makes this great play, and they go show Coach Boom on the sidelines doing one of those celebration moves. You got to go Google it. It's awesome. But I think that he's in Nashville now. I could be wrong about that, but he's not on the staff anymore. And if he is, it's just as kind of an analyst position. He was co-DC there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But
he was our coach in waiting for a couple of years.
He was the inaugural coach in waiting position, right?
I think he's been a coach in waiting for every SEC school at this point.
Well, I think that was the problem in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Too.
He was at Florida.
Yeah. Mississippi State,
South Carolina.
He was entertaining to watch when he was on our team, when he was our defensive coordinator.
He was always better suited for the DC role, right? Like he's not the top guy. He just doesn't have the mentality, in my opinion. I mean, in Florida, he lost his mind several times. South Carolina lost his mind several times. I felt he was better suited for the DC job.
Yeah. When he was at Texas, he was kind of like at peak Coach Boom, like,
punching cardboard. I mean,
yeah.
What do you call it? Blackboards, punching blackboards, going crazy all the time.
Yeah. He was good. So anyhow,
Who sneaks into the playoffs that nobody sees coming? Who's your wild card playoff?
well, SMU is, I like SMU. They're coming in at 25 and they're a little hot right now.
Okay. I think BYU and Boise State. Boise State, that running back, he's averaging like 250 yards a game.
I was gonna say Boise State as well.
Boise's got a light schedule too, lighter than others.
Let me ask you this question. Is Notre Dame still now slotted to make their way in? Because you know that the national media always tries like crazy to get them in. I thought when they lost to Northern Illinois, that was it for them. They wouldn't be able to bounce back from that. But when you start looking around the country, there's going to be lots and lots of teams with 2, 3, 4 losses. And if Notre Dame kind of keeps winning.
And they've got an incredibly soft schedule.
Charmin soft.
I mean, Michigan's not on the schedule anymore. Notre Dame's Ohio State's on the schedule anymore. They're just playing, like, if the Coast Guard had a team, they would add them.
Space Force.
I mean, that's all they're playing is the service academies and a bunch of trash from the ACC.
ACC's weak as can be too. I mean, you got someone like Clemson, who was left for dead, getting beat by 31 points by Georgia. Now they're ranked number 10. They just beat FSU. Like, that's no big feat, but you got Clemson's probably going to make it too, and Miami as well.
Yeah, I think Miami's due. I mean, they've been playing with fire too long. But to answer your question, I think if Notre Dame's just has one loss, even though it's a bad loss, and I don't think they get the Florida State kind of treatment from last year. I think they probably make it.
Who's your favorite to win it all?
It's not Georgia.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. New question. You can't say Georgia.
So Texas, that's easy. Texas or Oregon. I don't think that Oregon can win it, but those are of the top 5 teams. Like, who likes Ohio State? Does anybody actually like Ohio State? You do? Well,
I think they got a handful of votes in the.
I'm going to say point of clarification. I do not like anything about Ohio State. I've been to a couple games at Ohio State. Be fine with me if that whole place burns down, falls into the Olentangy River. That said, I think Ohio State's pretty good, and I think they're going to get better.
Penn State sleeps on people.
Penn State's not bad.
They don't have a loss.
But
they have again, it's just a softer conference.
I know Josh's group didn't think Penn State's.
No, we don't.
I'm just saying that's just a team that hadn't lost yet.
I can't root for Alabama. I can't root for Ohio State, even predicting them. Texas, I'm cool with. Like, I truly am cool with Texas. And I think there's a decent chance that Texas and Georgia play 2 times this year, and maybe even 3, which would be absolutely crazy. I think another really interesting playoff question that I'd love to hear y'all's opinion on is how many SEC teams get into the top 12, because there's a scenario 5. You're saying 5. That's a completely plausible scenario, and it probably should be what happens.
I'll go a step further. I think Tennessee or Ole Miss ends up in the playoff as one of those 5.
Yeah. You could see Tennessee, Ole Miss, Texas, Georgia, Bama. Pick 5 of those at random, and they're going to be in the playoff.
A&M's in the conversation.
A&M's got 3 more losses in them.
What do you guys think of an SEC country? Think of Lane Kiffin.
National treasure. We love him.
I love it. I
agree.
What's not to like about Joey Freshwater? I mean, the guy is an absolute gem.
I have a Mike Leach shaped hole in my heart. I did not like Texas Tech, but I think Mike Leach might be my favorite coach of all time.
Hands down.
And the only guy that's come close, my Mount Rushmore of Crazo coach is probably Spurrier, Leach,
Sandusky,
Joey Freshwater. I love, like, all 3 of those guys they're doing the Lord's work.
I can't argue with any of that. I mean, the big question that we have is, what is Lane Kiffin's move from here? Like, he's got it pretty good in Ole Miss. Expectations he'll meet or exceed every single year. Does he stay there and ride it out, or does he go chase a Florida job or an FSU job or something that he might think on paper is better? I don't know. It's interesting to see what he's going to do.
As Florida sits as a program, I think that he's getting the same recruiting opportunities at Ole Miss that he would get at Florida. I don't think the Florida job is what it used to be.
I think
Sadly,
the weird trajectory of his career path.
weird, the successful trajectory.
No, it's been incredibly unsuccessful.
You tell that to the bank account.
Canned at Tennessee, canned at USC, rehabs
Raiders.
his career at Alabama, and catches lightning in a bottle at Ole Miss. So I think there's a chance now that you've got this expanded playoff where you don't have to win every single game. And if he can recruit at Ole Miss and he thinks it's a fertile place to find kids to come play, he might stick there. Because what's the other SEC job he wants? You want to follow the guy that followed Nick Saban? That's a nightmare. Florida could be in for a decades-long rehab program.
Oklahoma's not opening up anytime soon.
Oklahoma is going to hire Josh Heupel. Maybe, I mean, does Tennessee hire
Does
Lane
Heupel
Kiffin
leave
back?
Tennessee?
There's a lot of chips there. So I think Lane stays because Ole Miss has a good collective and
No stress.
Yeah,
Less stress.
yeah, less stress.
Also,
kind of operate the way you want to, kind of like Saban had it coming into Alabama. Like Saban could do it exactly the way he wanted to, not how someone else was telling him. And Lane, I feel like if he plays his cards right, could have that same situation at Ole Miss.
And
Can't
I
argue
think
with
there,
that.
Yeah.
I think there's some jive between like the general mojo of a school like Ole Miss, like a kind of, it's hot, but I'm wearing a blazer. My dad's a lawyer. I'm driving a 5 Series BMW as a 17-year-old.
How many car dealerships does your dad own?
Right. I think there's something about that kind of melds well with Kiffin's personality.
The Grove I think the Grove melds well with that's my favorite SEC place I've visited for a
It's
game.
magnificent.
It's just because it's different. The dress up and the pageantry, it is kind of fun.
All right, Josh, do we visit Georgia next year? Like, I hadn't looked.
I haven't looked that far ahead. They used to do, it will be a home and home, right?
Yeah.
I don't know with the expanded conference members and with these TV deals, how that works out. So I don't know, but I hope that y'all do come soon. And if you do, make the trip, come to Atlanta, we'll go to Athens, have a big old time. Athens is a
Good.
great city.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, because I've never been. What do you call it? Between the hedges?
Between the hedges, yeah, the classic city between the hedges. You've got the actual hedges around the football field, and it's a great place to watch a game. The city's even better. The downtown is smaller than Austin, but a similar vibe in terms of the music and the bars and restaurants and the college kids. It's a great place.
And buy your parking pass ahead of time.
Yes, you heard my friend who did not follow his rules of being properly prepared, and which is ridiculous. He's been going to games for 30 years. Like, he knows the drill. But he was left pants trying to find a place to park, a couple hours before the game, which is not a spot you want to be in.
Yeah. So, Bill, you're saying we do play?
Yeah.
Okay, we do play.
Georgia
So we'll
next
see you next
25.
year.
If not before, we'll do this exact same podcast next year. Bill, why don't you tell us the date, and we'll go ahead and put this down for
No, next year we'll do it. It says to be determined on the day.
Oh, they haven't said the SEC
they haven't said
schedule
it.
next year.
But if it's there's a good chance we might be able to do this one in person, and everybody just come to Athens and enjoy it. And
how
do
great
it,
would that be?
Saturday during the day before the game or something.
How great would that be? Book it.
Yeah, Bill said he'll let us use his plane to come up there.
No, by then I'll have drones for everyone.
Okay,
personal drones to fly us in and out.
So the plane ride, I've done this a couple times. A couple meaning like twice. The plane ride from Atlanta to Athens is absolute magic. It's like 22 minutes. You look down at all the poor souls on 316 just hopping along. There's a nice small airport just off downtown. So Bill, gas it up, take off from Atlanta, 22 minutes down in Athens. You're in a bar 10 minutes later. Like I said, brilliance.
We're gonna roll the windows down. We'll just have those money guns. We'll just shoot it out. Everybody just waiting in line.
We'll throw my firm T-shirts in there and just shoot them all down below.
There we go.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
good
this is a
luck.
blast, guys. Thank y'all.
All right, appreciate it. We'll close it out. The joint Sports and Torts and Dirty Verdict podcast, first annual edition, Georgia, Texas pregame. Thanks, Josh.
Hook 'em and go Dogs.
I love it. Go Dogs. That's it. We'll see y'all.
Take
Thanks
care,
again,
Josh.
guys.